Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Vinokurov. If you don't know me, I am a blogger of my own blog series called World of Autism. And my guest that I have on today is an autistic self-advocate. His name is Paul Silver. How you doing, Paul?
Doing fine.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's get right into it. Can you tell a little bit about yourself as an autistic self-advocate?
Well, I began my self advocacy when in 2013 when I saw a news report about Ava's Law. For those who don't live in Georgia, Ava's Law was the legislation, was a bill that was going through the state legislature for for autism insurance therapy, autism insurance for ABA therapy. I was like, I was like, gonna say this is an outrage, and then I decided to meet with Anna Bullard, who was the mother of Ava, who was the bill named after. And I told her, and I said, I can help you. I'm on this for myself. So fast forward to 2014, the bill was not passed, and I was invited to an event where for Autism Awareness Day, where several legislators are speaking, including the lieutenant governor. So I'm shaking the hands with the lieutenant governor, and someone says, "Paul, tell the lieutenant governor you're a super self-advocate." I was like looking around, saying, "You're talking about me?" Because I never associated myself as a self-advocate before that. My parents and my teacher said you always have to self-advocate for yourself. So coming back to that meeting with the lieutenant governor and some of the key legislators at that Autism Awareness Day, um, I said I could see how this works because I had a love for politics. The the So the bill finally passed a year later in 2015. I was there when the then governor, signed it, and I felt like I could do something with this, inspire people, the next generation of autistics to speak out for themselves.
Absolutely, and that honestly, being a self advocate can apply to anything from the legislative level to even like a personal level. Where let's
Mm-hmm.
I was actually let's actually transition right into where I have heard about with you with graduating soon from college, correct?
Correct. I finally graduated from Herzing University. I'm going to get a diploma in medical coding and billing.
Wow, that's amazing! Congrats.
Thank you. So classes ended about a week before Labor Day. Um, but I did go to school after high school, studying web design and graphic design, and both did not pan out.
Mhm.
So eventually, I was working for my uncle in the medical field, and then I eventually moved to Florida, where I work now at my current position at orthopedic and pain management clinic.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. And about with your actually a little bit about with your experiences in college and stuff. Like, can you share about that? And like, do you feel like you use some of your self advocacy when you were in college?
I feel like when I was in my first years of college, I feel like I was not a self advocate. I did try to get um, accommodations, and I feel like I didn't use the accommodations as I was supposed to do. When I went back to school, I was basically doing online courses from Herzing University. Um, I feel like when it came to self advocacy, I did speak out when I felt like something was not right. Like if I feel like it's not like a grade, I know that like a question I got wrong that was supposed to be correct, I could email my teacher. My teacher could look at it and say if it's right or wrong.
Right, right. For me, like you're not alone when it comes to with the online, especially with online classes, because that's what my college is that I'm in right now is a fully online college, and my
Mhm.
degree is like fully online. So when it comes to with just applying any skills in regards to self advocacy and everything, it's about with speaking out in terms of like yeah, like you said, we're trying to fix a grade because of a test question that, you know, that wasn't right. Or even with assignments, like getting the clarification. That's
Mhm.
also another way. And just for
Mhm.
anybody, any tips for anybody in regards with college that with getting, with always asking questions and clarifying if something doesn't seem right. And that's a
Right.
really big important thing. And as well as you pointed out about with the accommodations and modifications, for me, I mine reduced over the years. Like when I was in my community college, I was using them. I had a lot more in my community college than I do now because I felt like, to me, I felt like I didn't really need to use as much. The only thing I'm not sure with you, if you had extended time on
I did
assignments
at the
or
same time. That was one of
exams.
the major thing. Like one of my last course assignments, they had like a pre-test and it was timed,
Mhm.
and I have not studied for. I'm gonna freak out. So I emailed and I noticed that they said this was the amount of time I got the same amount of time. So I emailed my teacher saying I'm have accommodations and I'm supposed to get extended time. And she said, when you get the post because that's your final, you will get the extended time because it's going to be the same type of format. And I said, okay, I'm fine with that. And then eventually they excused the grade because they figured out the pretest was not the great good way because it downgraded everybody's grade, not just mine. Um, then when I took the pretest, it was like the test was supposed to be 4 hours long. When I took the post test, it was like probably like less than 6 hours. I would say like a good 5 hours and 30 minutes. And I did a lot. I think I did a little better than I did on my on my press.
Right. Yeah, that can happen too. Like, for me, I felt like with the more time that I get extended, I feel like I have less anxiety knowing that like I could take the time to really process the
Mm-hmm.
questions. Not sure if
Mm-hmm.
you felt the same way when it
I
comes
felt
to.
like if like when I also went to the pre-test, the clock was there. Even though if I scroll down, I can still see the clock. When I did the post-test, the clock was just at the top, and if I scroll down, I couldn't see the clock. So that helped. So I think like not focusing on the clock and focus on your test helps as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly. I know with my college, like I always, with every exam I've had, there was always a clock there, but I try to ignore it because you know what, I already know I have.
I also recommend put a sticky note on your screen if that has to happen if you have to do it.
That's a good tip. That is a good tip too. That's me
Yeah.
with using a sticky note just to block off the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely know what that's like. I definitely know what that's like. Um, was there any other like strategies that like or things experiences that have worked out for you, and what's like what has worked for you in college and what has not?
I think when it's not helpful is when you can't get along with the professor. There was like one time in one of my classes, one of the Jason's instructors was my instructor, and I'm feeling like I can't get this right. And this is towards the end when I finally said enough is enough with my schooling in early. The teacher was strict and like if you dawdle on the class it wasn't working, and I felt like I was not getting the course right, so I felt like I had enough of the course because I was already not succeeding in the curriculum of the major, and I said enough is enough, and I decided I dropped the classes and changed my major. It was like one of those type of straws. that I
Oh,
felt like I couldn't take it anymore of this.
hmm. That's interesting because, like, for me, when it came to experience of having a not so great professor,
That was one of the extreme examples. I just
right?
felt like, yeah.
Yeah. But just to share a little bit of my own personal experience of a not so great professor, it was my ethics professor back in my community college that I got my associate's degree from. And this professor would not be so accommodating of my of my of what I'm supposed to have accommodations for,
Mm-hmm.
which is, it's kind of going against anything that, what a college is supposed to follow,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And just with, yeah. So that's where I was like, you know what? I don't know if you ever used this tool before. I use this tool. It's called Rate My Professor.
Yeah, I have seen it before.
I've
I
used it.
the school asked you to do it in a course survey at my last at Herzing.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't have like a face to face session. I had Zoom meetings with my teachers, but you just can't get a full realization of a real face to face classroom through Zoom, if you know what I mean.
Right. That
The
makes
teachers,
sense.
yeah, because the teacher's there to instruct you. Now you can ask questions and stuff like that, but you're basically, if you have another commitment, like I have, like some of the Zoom meetings were like during the day. I'm at work, so I can't ask my questions unless I email the teacher. If it's on the spot, that's more like it. That's what I like. It's like on the spot. Like I could ask my question right there
Right.
if I had any questions.
Yeah, that's honestly a lot of what my online college is today for my bachelor's degree is a lot like that because it's more of where like, and even actually my classes are live online, like through it's not through Zoom, it's called Brightspace. That's what they use. But
Well, my
it's
school use a program called Canvas, and then there'll be a Zoom link to the teacher,
oh
and like what we're doing right now. For the students
yeah,
that miss the sessions.
right. That
Yeah, the teachers were accommodating. I got good responses. I think the only time I had a trouble with a response with a teacher was not follow the teacher around because she lived in Texas and it was during when they had a terrible ice storm. So
oof.
I had to say okay, now I understand why she was not getting back to me because I didn't know she lived in Texas.
Yeah, that's like my professors because in my online college professors are all over the world. So yeah,
Yeah,
so it could
yeah.
be that's the
Like my first teacher was like in New Mexico, and I
mhm.
think some of them were like somewhere in the New England area.
Yeah, yeah. So you never know, and it's just important to be able to really like, and this is advice for anybody to be really like match with a professor that really is going to be committed to you, be able to like be responsive.
Mhm.
It's so important, very
Okay.
important. So thank you for all of that, and I want to wrap this up by having you like what would be, as since you're graduating really soon, what
Yeah.
advice do you have for for people with autism that are going to be attending college or like are already in their college experiences?
Well, my advice for is if you feel like this is not the right path for you, change it right away because colleges have a certain time limit. And then I feel like if if you don't feel like you're on the right path, try to communicate with the college about what you feel like it's wrong or with someone you trust. Um, the thing I did like about my previous schooling was one of my professors had like a mock interviews for one of his classes well, actually, it was a club that he started, and he wanted us to be videotaped on the mock interview. So we had someone. He gave us like a job interview. He had someone interview us, and once I saw the video, I saw all the problems I had with my interview. Like, I think the first question was, how do you prepare for this interview?
Mm-hmm.
The correct answer is, this is what I learned about your company. What I said was basically how I got ready for my day.
Oh, wow.
So I feel like if people feel like because if there's an option that your school could videotape you while you're doing your mock interview, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is really great advice to be able to like just take on the resources that your college provides. And like as soon as from the beginning, like I'll tell a mini little thing. When I first was in my with my community college, I went right to my disability services and I'm like, I have to get the accommodations I need to do well.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I just feel like I didn't utilize them originally. Like like the one of my schools, they gave me like there's a classroom where you could do your assignments.
Right.
I never utilized it until until I was in deep trouble and I talked to someone higher up at the school saying, you need to do this, and do this. Work for one semester, then next semester it did not go so well. So I just probably needed that time again.
But still, it's just a matter of like just to have them as it is. So that way you're not worrying about it later on. And I think it's important for anybody to like to utilize any resources sooner than later. Like, yeah, it might not work at one point, but it might actually work at another. Like, if it might not work for one class, it might end up working well for another class. So,
well, one trick that I learned was have like your textbooks read to you. So since my classes were online, I just use like a text to speech writing, just highlight what is read and it reads to me. Although one of my classes had already programmed into the system, which I was really happy for. Other classes I had to use a text to speech thing to read to me.
Oh, interesting. And did that work out for you? Like, did that help you a lot?
That worked for me. That helped me.
That's what I feel like we have the main message here is to like use what's best for you and what works for you. It's not gonna work like all the time, but to be able to build on those strategies is so important to be able to do well in college, and it shows for you. Like you did really well during college, which is awesome. So glad that to hear about with your experiences and stuff with everything, Paul, and like to know about with a little of your journey as a self-advocate and great advice that you shared about with doing well in college. So thank you, Paul.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And so to wrap this up, I will Paul, thank you for coming on everything. And for any viewers and stuff, make sure that you follow me as Exceptional Shell on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got also on TikTok, Pinterest, you name it. I'm on all that. And you can also check out the World of Autism as a website. So thank you and have a great day.
You too.